How's it going, guys? It's Burgas here and welcome to another Cow Dragons video. Now, I know I didn't make video about the new decorations, and this is what we're going to talk about today. The reason behind is this is a completely different decorations. Now, I'm going to be honest, I was expecting something that we see so far, like the epic sculptures is giving you legion attack. The other one that is, people say this is a legendary, but I don't think it's legendary, even though the name is legendary. But still, it's again legion attack. And finally, we was having this Lotus Water that is, also giving legion attack. And when you level up those decorations, you basically boost the amount of legion attack. In this case, also damage do, and at one point you're going to have also legion defense. So I checked out the new decorations. I was on holiday, so I was not able to check them very much in deep, but I have them, both of these two new decorations. Now, we also have this one, Moonlift Fountain, that is giving Legion HP. We're going to also talk about this decoration, but one by one, and what I like and what I don't like over a new decoration. Is this decoration good for you? Should you actually switch from these decorations to maybe this one? I'm going to compare the old decorations with the new decorations and give my opinion over is this actually upgrade or not, because to be fair, some of these new decorations are not actually an upgrade. So I'm going to start first with this Mysterium Braille Pot. Is basically giving rage accumulation speed. Now I want to say something. Rage accumulation speed is something that the game should be extremely careful about. Why is that? Is just because how to say it, it's something that trigger your spell more faster. You accumulate more faster your rage, so from there you fire up your more faster your rage skill. Obviously, it's not applying to heroes like Magrat or I don't know, heroes that are just have passive boosting the passive skills. Yeah, it's only boosting the rage skills where you actually need some rage accumulation speed. So rage accumulation speed, from first look, this is maybe looking the most unbalanced one from the three new decorations that currently we're having. But we're going to go more in deep. Rage accumulation speed. Okay, so what is actually giving this thing? Is giving, till the level 5. At level 4, you're going to get 2.6. At level 5, is going to be 2.6 with some extra description. PvP Legions deals 0.8 more damage and takes 0.8 less damage. When hit with a normal attack, the Legion loses this buff and takes a 1.8% more damage for 5 seconds. So what this means is you're attacking one Legion and you're getting these nice buffs like 0.8% more damage, which is applying to the artifacts, pet skill, hero skill, normal attack, and you're receiving 1.8% less damage. But this 1.8% is going to be just for one hit. Just for one hit. Because the moment you get hit, you're going to receive 0.8% more damage for 5 seconds. Now, for which heroes or troop this is good? Definitely not for infantry, because you're not you're not going to see yourself have this 0.8 more damage and take less damage. You're always going to be with increased damage taken because you're always going to get hit. So for this decoration is mostly the Legion that get less hit, the better this decoration is for this Legion. So for me personally, this for mages. Okay, mages is coming very far range, so they're hit less. So they're not going to trigger this 0.8%, and it's going to keep getting this more damage and less damage taken. And by the way, less damage and take 0.8% less damage. This can also apply to the counter attack. So it's going to apply only for the first hit if some legion hit you, but it's going to be non-stop applying for the counterattack, from my understanding. So yeah, when you get hit, you basically lose this bonus and you're receiving negative percentage. Now from level 5, we're jumping and moving further. Obviously here the percentage is getting increased, and we're hitting we're hitting level 7, where it's like 5% rage accumulation speed and normal attack damage do. Normal attack damage do is going to be like 2%. Normal attack damage taken plus 0.8%. Now, here I'm not quite sure. Is this more damage? Okay, this is two different things. Normal attack damage taken. So here you're going to receive little more damage. It's going to increase your normal attack damage, which is going to be good for mages with Celestials, because Celestials are having good attack, but not so good for Vestals. So you have to be just League of Order with this decoration at the end of the day. And here we continue to have this more damage and less damage taken. And obviously when you get hit, you're going to receive more damage. Moving further to the final one, where there is like normal attack damage do 8%, normal attack damage taken is going to be 3%. And obviously here you're going to have like 4% more damage and 4% less damage. Now here is the thing, 4% more damage is, I think, better from these decorations, where damage do is like 3%, and here we're having this. It's not guaranteed and it's not permanent, because if you get hit, you basically lose this advantage. But in same time, it's 4% more damage. PvP Legion do 4% more damage. So if your mage is very good decoration, this is a very good decoration for mages. Definitely, I believe in that. Now, why is that? Because the only troop that is not get hit that much is mages. I mean, the mages is the worst line you're going to hit. You're going to hit infantry, you're going to hit cavalry, you're going to hit easily marksmen, but mages are the worst troop that you're going to hit. So this is for Mysterious Braille Pot. It's like one bone here doing something. So let's jump over the next one. This is Abyssal Blade. This is skill damage. Skill damage 2 is going to jump. Okay, so skill damage 2 is very nice because it's applying to all of your legions. So if you go to like 2% at level 4, this is going to be like all of your legions is going to get this extra 2%. So the total, yeah, all of your legion is going to get this 2%. Now moving further, the first bonus we're getting here, this is at level 5. The first time a PvP legion launches a normal attack, after entering the battle, it do 1.2% more damage for 5 seconds. After 5 seconds have passed, it deals 0.6% less damage until the end of the battle. Now, this is more about the poking game and for the cavalry and for blink infantry. Now, why is that? Because it's giving this extra bonus only when you enter in the battle. 5 seconds if you rush with cavalry over the mage legions or marksman one, or range legions in general. Are you going to receive 100% rage the moment you touch these targets? So you immediately fire up your spells, and this 0.2% is going to be perfect. On top of that, your artifacts is also applying to this, because in 5 seconds you're going to fire up your artifacts also. So what I believe about this one is more like for cavalry. Now, why I think it's also for the infantry, because when you blink with your artifact, you're going to do for 5 seconds on full legion capacity more damage. And blink infantry don't survive for what? They're surviving like 15, 20 minutes, 20 seconds. So the moment you jump there, you're going to have more damage for 5 seconds when your legion is full. And I think this is also very brutal for infantry, but mainly it's for cavalry from what I see. Here also we have defense penetration, and also legion HP. It's strange that defense penetration get increased and the legion HP get reduced. And finally, we're getting to the skill damage 3%. It's not that much the skill damage, but mostly is the power up spell here. The first also defense penetration like 8%. This is huge. 3% less legion HP is not that much. Okay, if you get like one milestone with 10% HP, just going to receive 7%. The first time a PvP legion launches a normal attack after entering in the battle, it deals 6% more damage for 5 seconds. After 5 seconds pass, it deals 3% less damage until the battle ends. So if you're striking with your cavalry and you're jumping over mage legions is going to have zero chance. I mean, this is a crazy good one for cavalry. Abyssal Blade. Why I don't believe is for mages, it's just for 5 seconds, especially with mages that need to accumulate some rage. None of these troops that we're having is going to accumulate rage that fast like the cavalry. So if you accumulate rage and hit the 100% in like 5 seconds, you're going to benefit from this legendary decoration. But at the end of the day, only cavalry can do that. That's why I strongly believe this is mainly for cavalry. Mainly for cavalry. And finally, we're having this one, Moonlit Fountain. By the way, this can also be for some marksmen, also good for some marksmen. Now, if I think about it, it can be also good for some marksmen and for some and for infantry. By the way, again for the blink infantry, because infantry artifacts are 400 rage, so there is a solid chance the infantry to trigger their artifacts and do some damage with their artifacts. But anyway, let's jump to the Moonlight Fountain. This is Legion HP. Now, when the people hear Legion HP, they go crazy, okay? Because, to be fair, the HP buff is the most rare buff in Call of Dragons. If I open and show you my what is this thing? My buffs. Swordsman. This is the attack. As you can see, the attack is like 135%. It's almost for everybody. Also knights, celestials, blah blah blah. This is the defense. Okay, the defense, and look at the HP. This is like on half, even like close to 3 times less from the attack. 135% attack, just 54% HP. So this is a very desired buff for your troops, getting some extra HP. So if we go, and here we're going to boost exactly the HP, and it's going to be for all troops. It's not like only for swordsmen or only for cavalry, it's for all troops. Now, what else this one is giving? Legion. PvP Legion takes 1.4% less damage and do less damage in the battle. Now, I have mixed feelings because it's still a boost because it's reducing the damage the infantry are taking, but in the same time, because this is mostly for infantry, let's be honest, and but I think with this decoration, the game is trying to boost the survivability of infantry, but in the same time reduce the amount of damage those infantry are doing, because let's be fair, a lot of people are just blinking with their infantry, and they get like 25-30k. I mean, for very good, for good developed infantry with most rock coverage. I mean, just good developed infantry like Goresh Kuma, Kumali Kwan, Joren Kuma, Joren Ewanir. I mean, you name it. And people start using those legions to make damage, which the game don't like that much because infantry are the tanks. Imagine if you build a unit that is a tank, and at one point this unit start do some very good damage. Everybody's going to run to the infantry at the end of the day. And also with Ironclad reducing up to 40% the range damage taken. I mean, it's crazy. So yeah, here is like reduction of the damage output of the infantry and increasing the survivability of infantry. And yeah, here we start seeing for the first time attack resistance. Now, what is attack resistance? I think this is something that majority of the players in Call of Dragons don't understand. Now, attack resistance is reducing the enemy attack. And by inflicting the enemy attack, is also inflicting the damage output of the artifact, of the rage skill. Attack is related to all damage you're doing. So by reducing this, you're basically reducing also couple more things. That's why I was believing before they changed the infantry city skin to something different that this city skin was actually good one. But yeah, they make it little different. So yeah, attack resistance is very nice, can go up to 8%. Obviously, we can have just one of these decorations, and thank God we can actually have just one of those decorations, because it's going to make some legions absolutely unstoppable. But yeah, still, PvP Legion takes 7% less damage and do 4% less damage in the battlefield. So yeah, this is something like a reduction of the damage the infantry are doing. And it's starting like this. What I mean by that is, as you can see here, it's like 4% less damage. There is nothing to trigger this. It's a permanent. It's just like it's going to be there, but still. It's also applying to all the troops. I want to point out this thing. Now we're talking about Moonlight Fountain. That is for infantry, but in the same time, if you use this city skin, it's going to apply also the same for your mages. So your mages is going to do 4% less damage in the battle. So definitely don't use it with mages or marksmen or cavalry. This is purely if you want to go with infantry. Now, why I don't like it, because normally I run like 3 or 4 mage legions and 1 or 2 infantry one. So if I want to support my infantry, I'm going to hurt my mages. If I want to support my mages, I'm going to hurt my infantry, because the moment my infantry get hitted, they're going to receive, if this is a maxed one, the Legion is going to receive like 4% more damage. So either I'm going to have to go with only with mages, or either I have to go with infantry. But it's just no longer going to be a good fit for me to go just with one troop, with 2 troops. Now, here comes the question: is the new decorations better from the old one? The answer is no. I'm going to explain why. First of all, this is one decorations. Obviously, it's for mages. So yeah, definitely use this decoration at place of the one of the old. But should you use the 3 new decorations? No. Only just pick the one that you're actually needing. And why I like the old decoration is just because there is no restriction over what kind of legion I'm having. Because again, if I go with mages with the rage accumulation speed, rage accumulation speed 1, rage accumulation speed, and I go with infantry also, like this, my infantry is going to receive 4% more damage. My mages is going to do 4% more damage. So my infantry is receiving more damage, my mages are doing more damage. So I better not move with the infantry. I basically just better use only mages. So this is why I don't like these decorations. This is mostly for cavalry, I already said, but still, it's like damage do. This is nice for mages. Defense penetration still nice for mages, but the extra boost is only like for the first 5 seconds. You're not going to do much with your mages for the first 5 seconds of the fight. Now, if you do a poking game, you poke, you go back, you poke, you go back. Maybe you can trigger. You can trigger the how to say you can trigger this spell because you're going to accumulate rage in the process. But yeah, it's not like hit and stand and hit. Standing hits decoration. So yeah, I like the old one because just giving Legion HP, Legion attack, Legion defense, and damage do. There is nothing like it's going to hurt my infantry, it's going to boost my mages, it's going to boost my cavalry, it's going to hurt my mages, or things like this. Here is universal one. I don't know if they. Oh, okay. Oh, we're having this thing. A balance of attack and defense. Okay, this one is a balanced. This is opportunist. This is obviously the defense, and this is the attack. But again, this one is like more for cavalry. So just wanted to give my 2 cents over the new decorations. I just get back from my little like 10 days vacation. So yeah, it's a lot of things changed in the Call of Dragon, especially with the new decorations. So yeah, I wish you a great day, guys, and see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Anyway, guys, that is for this video. Huge thank you to all channel members for supporting the channel. If you do like to support the channel as well, you can check out the join button below. Members get early access to videos, exclusive content, member shoutouts, and Warwords member can reach me out directly for strategy and account advices. Thank you very much for watching and see you in the next one.